Bitcoin dominance is heading like a freight train towards a brick wall, and when it hits that brick wall, it's going to send the altcoins absolutely sky high. And I believe that Gamefi is the main area of the market that we're going to see a huge explosion very early on after that Bitcoin dominance falls. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 different Gamefi projects that I have a very keen eye on, as well as explain why Gamefi is the area I think you should be paying attention to. Hit that like button. Let's get into it. Guys, let's have a look at the Bitcoin dominance. If you subscribe to this channel, which, I don't know what else I can do or say to get you to do it, but you'll know that I've talked about this before. Bitcoin dominance, which is a percentage of Bitcoin of the market cap of the whole crypto market, is rallying towards this blue line. And what does that mean for you? Well, guys, as you can see previously, we topped out here, and then we broke pretty much straight after that into the first altcoin season of the last bull market. If we break or push into this blue line, which is a good chance of happening very, very soon, in fact, then there's a good chance of another fall away from there. And that will be where Bitcoin suddenly stalls, potentially around $36,000 to $40,000, and suddenly money floods out of it. Now, this is not guaranteed, of course. You do your own research and understand how markets work. But in my opinion, this could be about to happen very, very soon. So you've got to ask yourself, and I asked myself this in yesterday's video, and I asked you where I think it was going. And we did say that AI was a good area of the market to be looking as a potential category for money to be flowing into. But I also talked about the potential for Gamefi. And why is that? Well, here is the main reason behind it. And I've talked about this a lot, but it's important. This is the growth of gaming per year in terms of money, in terms of revenue since 1972. And it's kind of made into this sort of logarithmic visual, which is very, very fancy, right? But what we got to look forward to in 2026 is blockchain games. And the yellow bit emerges out of nowhere and is very important to notice, because the arcade games and stuff died off long ago. PC kind of kept going, but then the red mobile gaming exploded, and now you've got blockchain, which will suddenly suck up all of this and explode on the scene. And why is that important? Because it's where basically you have blockchain gaming, or the utilization of tokens within games, linking up with traditional games that exist on like Xbox and PlayStation and video games and mobile games, where you start to integrate tokenization and blockchain technology into games that you're playing anyway and you don't even realize. And you as a gamer don't even realize it's just happened. So where are we right now? Well, we're stuck kind of around here. And what's really the problem right now? Well, there's this. Back at the end of September, there was a very big crypto event that took place in Singapore. Singapore, pretty much the hub of Asia crypto, and a lot of Gamefi projects, which are being built in Singapore, Indonesia, China, Taiwan, other areas in the East. There was a lot of people who were talking about a certain problem that's been happening within Gamefi. Now, if you subscribe to Alex Becker and others, you would have heard that Gamefi has seen more development through the bear market than pretty much any other sector. And that's true, but there's a big problem with that level of development, and it's because development costs a lot of money. You need a lot of people to be able to build these highly technical games, and integrating it with blockchain technology is also incredibly complex and challenging as well. So this comes with an issue, because in a bear market, there's not a lot of money. If you look at Gala Games and others, where their main token has fallen significantly during the period of time from the top of the bull market to now, you'll realize that a lot of the funds that were driving these crypto projects forward are starting to dry up. This has meant that a lot of projects right now are starting to have to think about shoveling a game out the door. And is that a positive thing necessarily? Potentially not. So that was the main word on the street at Token 24. Lots of projects were thinking about launching games, launching NFTs, launching different ways to incentivize people to get into the space and bring in more funding, more money. And this is kind of interesting, because right now you're seeing A16Z, Animoca Brands, and everyone else starting to flood money back into the market again. Those are big venture capital funds, if you've not already heard of them. And that gets me excited, because suddenly we've got a time when the crypto market's starting to push again. You've got Bitcoin on the brink of potentially hitting a high where it might go stagnant for a little bit, where you could see a chunk of cash flowing into another arena. Gamefi. Gamefi sat positioned very excitingly right now. So which games should we be paying attention to, or which tech surrounding the games is worth looking at. Now, here's an example to know that games are being forced to kind of push themselves out early, perhaps before they're not even ready. Illuvium, which launched back earlier on this year, an extremely popular and enormous Gamefi game, basically has been going through a lot of problems. And you can see that constantly they're having to give these updates on various different upgrades and things they're doing all the time. And not that I've bought a video game in a while, but I don't ever remember going and buying like a FIFA game or a Call of Duty game and having it constantly being upgraded and things on it being broken, having to be mended. That's because this is a kind of a new area of the market, but it's starting to gain a lot of traction and a lot of people get very excited about it. So where are we going to go first with our games, our top 5? Guys, I talked about this before and I know it upsets people, but Gala Games is just the most obvious pick in my opinion, and there's a reason for this. Now, Gala is a suite of different games, okay? Also offers things like music, also offers film, TV, and other bits and pieces. That's important for me because I don't want to invest directly into one game, because if that game goes and piles in, then my investment is lost, right? Whereas if I invest in Gala and a number of the games are not good, that's fine. Maybe we'll get a good one come out later on down the line. Also, I want to show you what happened during the last bull market, because it's a good example of Gala basically coming out of nowhere, Gamefi suddenly becoming exciting and interesting again, and rallying like 35x in the space of like a few weeks. And actually Gala came from nowhere before that and did like a 10,000x for early investors. It's not going to do that again because it already has a large market cap. But significantly important right now for Gala is that there's been some pretty bad shady news going on with Gala this year. You've had a fallout between the two founders, one trying to sue the other trying to sue that one, you know, blah blah blah. Now, I've talked about this for Solana all through the year, how Solana is massively undervalued because it's been battle tested multiple times. This I just see as a battle test for Gala, and it seems to have survived, and that's very important because it means that now Gala has retraced like 90 odd %, and in fact is bouncing a little in this area. Now, it has put in this low, it's put in another low here, and then we've dipped underneath this zone, and now we're trying to break back into it. That's important, okay, because we're starting to see this growth. This is indicating to me that Gala is starting to regain a little bit of strength. And then if you jump across to the token analyzer, which we've used before, you'll see that the number of wallets being accumulated in Gala right this second is very big. In the last 30 days, you've had nearly 9,000 wallets accumulating, and lots of wallets starting to step in to Gala. Before we've even seen the pump that's happened in the last day or so, we've seen a lot more wallets starting to get involved from around the 10th of October. That means there's starting to get more excitement in the game again. Lots of people running in, some very big buys coming in, popular, okay? I've got my eye on Gala. A return to all-time highs, who knows? There's no reason why Gamefi projects such as Gala, the caliber of Gala, don't have the ability to do 48 to 50x to return to all-time highs. Even if they do like half of that, guys, and do like a 23x back to this level, you're not going to be disappointed. In my opinion, that's not financial advice. Do your own research. Don't invest money you can't afford to lose. Blah, blah, blah. If some bad news or terrible news happens about Bitcoin or whatever in the next week, we'll see Bitcoin go to its death and it will drag everything with it. You've got to be prepared for that to happen. But right now, I remain very bullish. Now, recently, we've seen games for a living absolutely booming as well. Significantly smaller market cap than Gala, but I do like what they're doing, okay? They are picking up a lot of slack from Gala. It's caught the attention of a very excited community who are very hyped for where it's going. Really slightly better tokenomics than what's going on with Gala, but right this second we have seen it having a very good aggressive push. I made a video about it a few weeks ago when it was in here saying it might have a fairly significant pullback somewhere down here. As you can see, it never happened. Maybe I was a little bit wrong there. It only pulled back, what, 25%. Okay, I was anticipating it maybe it'd come back further, but obviously the rest of the market's picking up. So games for a living looks fairly solid. It has been pumping recently. Depends where you want to get into it. Okay, it's still fairly small market cap, to be honest. I'm still pretty bullish on games for a living. Now, for those purists who are like, oh, this is not a game, guys, this is really big for gaming and Gamefi, and I think things around it that might not necessarily be games but will support gaming could be very, very positive, okay? And Render Network, which I have talked about a lot recently because it's been getting a lot of attention. The community are very hyped up and excited about it. I think this is a very big project to pay attention to. Mainly, first of all, because it's like a one of a kind within crypto, okay? There's kind of off-chain competitors for this, but distributed GP rendering on the blockchain. Now, to simplify that, if you're looking around in a video game, that image that you look into didn't exist when you were looking this way, okay? When you turn around and look into it, then suddenly that needs to be rendered out, okay? It needs a huge amount of computing power for some of these really high-spec, highly detailed games, and Render Network allows for this to basically take place on-chain through kind of a cloud GP rendering a blockchain. And that's very interesting because it cuts huge costs, it allows for much better quality gaming, and reduces the requirement for individual organizations to hold tons of different GPUs, etc. Okay, and this allows for loads of benefits. Now, why am I hyped up and excited by this? Well, because a lot of Gamefi is going to rely on products like this to be able to support it. Therefore, the industry, if it starts to pick up, could definitely drag a product like Render Network along with it. And that is something that gets me excited. Particularly, it's already in a nice position. We're seeing some good accumulation. And you can see looking into the chart that, yeah, we had this push up to the kind of like the red area. We are starting to rally into it again. I do think in the near term, we could be going into this sort of zone up here, which would probably create the most obvious cup and handle that you've ever seen. Target price for which would be the height of the cup from the kind of neckline of this would bring you all the way up there, which from current levels in the sort of short or medium term would be around 144%. Now, that's nothing to be sniffed at, guys. As I talked about before, right now we're just trying to look for the steady 100%ers, 200%ers over the next 6 months to the next year, because I don't think that we're going to see crazy wealth generation in crypto until kind of a year down the line. But right now we're just sort of filling our bags and making sure that we're in the best place to play ball aggressively. Now, if you want to find more gaming tokens, come across to CoinGecko. And then just click on cryptocurrencies, categories, and then come down to gaming, Gamefi, and you'll see all of the different list of different games here. Now, as you can see, coming down through, we've already talked about Gala games here. The Sandbox also on my radar, but just for the sake of keeping things interesting, let's go a little bit lower down the list. Magic has caught my attention earlier on this year, and for good reason. Now, this is an interesting one because it sort of has its similarities to Gala games, okay? What I like about it is bringing different people in around the world and building these communities of different gamers. Now, no matter who you are, you probably realize that there is a huge industry behind gaming, particularly online nowadays with like Twitch and YouTube and all that stuff, people doing online gaming, and that's a huge thing. If that can start to flood into platforms such as Magic, then I think you're going to see a huge takeoff in this particular space as well. You can see tons of different games and things going on here, and a growing and passionate community behind it. Still, however, with a very small market cap, and definitely because of that, has got my attention. I also want to focus on the fact that it offers games in a variety of different kind of niches, okay? So depending on who you are, whether you're like a 12-year-old girl or like a 36-year-old dude, there's something here for you. And that's cool, okay? I'm not selling this to you as a gamer, because I'm definitely not a gamer. I'm selling this to you as something that can capture the imagination of a lot of people. And more importantly, a lot of people who don't have any interest in cryptocurrency, okay? We're talking about people who go and play like games like Candy Crush or whatever, who start to like interact and start paying subscription fees and whatever, like Clash of the Clans and things like that. And that then goes on chain, and then that creates a demand for utility tokens and that kind of thing. And then you've got yourself a coin that could potentially really grow in value. Now, another one I want to talk about, and this I did feature on the channel very early on in the year, but unfortunately, kind of due to the fact that markets kind of been towards the downside, it's not seen much action. Lots of projects that launched this year have struggled for very obvious reasons, because there's just no liquidity in the market. However, Madeade, I'm also quite bullish on still, because we have seen a bit of a decline in the price and things behind it are still looking good, okay? They've got a really good community behind them. They did a very successful raise earlier on this year, and they sold out their tokens in a very short space of time, which is very bullish, okay? And they have built a community behind them who are excited about where this is going. This, again, is not just about the gaming, but also connecting communities, offering kind of sponsorship and development, and also jobs within Gamefi industry. And this is kind of like a whole hub around passionate gamers, and I think that particular narrative really captures people's attention and is going to drive us forward into a potentially very solid couple of years. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, in the last bull market, the word Gamefi was all a buzz, and anything to do with roughly Gamefi was guaranteed to almost give you a 5, maybe even a 10x. And I think maybe it's not necessarily going to be quite as easy as that in this bull run, but some of these projects that have established themselves well and kept their heads above water during this sort of tough period of time will really start to reap the rewards. I'm very positive on what could be happening with Madeade, so it's definitely worth going and checking it out. And mainly because the market cap as well sits currently at $11.6 million. For that to see a 10x, maybe even a crazy 100x, really isn't beyond the realms of possibility, guys, given what happens in bull markets. Now, as I've talked about before, in order for these projects to do well in the bull market, they need a good level of funding from pre-ICO where they get venture capital funding. And we have a new project which we're about to raise money for in the inner circle link down below. This project is going to be part of Binance Lab, which on average from pre-ICO to top of altcoin markets goes to 185x on average. Okay, not guaranteed, of course. This project has just been accepted into a Google partnership program, so this is a really exciting find, and we're so pumped up to have it and give you the opportunity to be able to invest as a pre-ICO investor in the inner circle. As well as that, guys, you can get daily chart analysis from myself and other expert traders within there, all just for the price of $9.99. Absolute no-brainer. Click the link down below in the description to get your 5-day free trial now. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you very soon in the next video. Bye-bye.